So I'm looking at this guy at the end of the bed, these two guys, and he said, "Do you know what happened to you?" And I said, "Yeah, I fell asleep." He said, "You can't talk because you have a trach in your throat. You can't really see properly, and your side's probably itching because we did an emergency surgery on you because your insides are all messed up. And we have you strapped to the bed because you tried to escape out of the bed." And I was like, "What? What's going on?" Nothing was really making sense. And I'm thinking, I'm talking. I think my mouth is moving. And I'm saying, "Well, you must have the wrong guy. I can get out of here right now." But he said, "You can't talk." Again, he said, "You can't talk because you have a trach in your throat." And I still do have the scar of the trach that was in my throat. And I still have the scars from it's called a thoracotomy, where they open up your ribs and they fix all your insides. So, a day or two later, I start my rehab. Well, I was located up on the 5th floor, and that wheelchair ride down to the basement where they had the rehab rooms was so much stimulation on my brain that I just fell asleep. And now the funny thing is, for me, and I know it's the same with a lot of other people that have gone through the similar experience. When you're in your coma, you can hear things that are going on around you. And I could hear people laughing and just kind of carrying on because they thought, well, there's no way this guy's going to get any better because he just keeps falling asleep. Well, day after day, month after month, they kept bringing me down back and forth. And my brain somehow just started, figuring things out. And then I started to move, and I started to learn to talk again, and started to get a little bit more confidence, And pretty soon I was going down to the rehab rooms by myself. But, every morning I would go by the nurse's station, and I was starting to get really confident. I was getting cocky and confident. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be better than everyone. I couldn't really talk. The most I could say was home, home, because my voice was totally gone. I didn't know how to really form words or sentences. Now, everybody said, "You can't go home yet. You can't go home yet." One guy, that was my dad. That was my dad. And he said, "When you get stronger." And he said, and he doesn't know why he said that. But to me at the time, getting stronger meant getting physically stronger. So I dedicated myself to learn to walk again and doing physio and exercise. But by doing that, what I did was, without knowing it, through the exercise, I was also healing my brain. So my brain was starting to heal at an accelerated rate, and they couldn't believe how fast I was healing and how fast I was rehabbing, all because my dad said, "When you get stronger." And, and then I dedicated myself to exercise and walking and running. And get back to the part here. I was going to every morning I go by the nurse's station, and they say, "Steve, don't worry if you don't get back to 100%. Nobody ever gets back to 100%. And that was a horrific car accident you were in. You should be happy you're alive." And every morning, I would point at them. I'd get mad. And I'd say, "You're right. I'm not going to be 100%. I'm going to be better than 100%. And then they would come back at me and say, "Well, Steve, 1 in a million make you back to having a productive, normal life." And I said, "Well, I am the one. I am the one." And now this is every morning. And now I couldn't figure out why they would say that to me. Were they just trying to bring me back down to earth because, I was getting so high and mighty and thinking I was going to get back to 100%. In the events that I didn't get back, that I didn't go into a depression, they've probably seen it all. Or were they just trying to keep me motivated? I don't know what it was. But, I was motivating myself anyway. By this time, I started to walk, and I started to talk a little clearer. And now, I think all the therapists were starting to conspire against me so that I wouldn't, get too high and mighty on myself. And I'll tell you one story about my physiotherapist who she went to Western, and she was my physiotherapist over at Parkwood Hospital. She set up this track, the suicide. It's called suicides, where they set up like five cones, and we went back to the starting line, right? And she said, we're going to have a race, And I used to be a fast runner in my day. Well, right back when I was a teenager, and she said, if you win, you can go home, because all I wanted to do was go home. But she said, but I have to warn you, I was on the national track team. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to win anyway. So she said, on your mark, get set, go. We go to the first cone, right? And this is probably as fast as I was running. This is my running speed. And meanwhile, she's like sprinting. She's gone. I'm not even at the second cone, and she's done. She's done the race. She totally smoked me. But funny enough, that weekend, I went home for a home visit just to reintegrate myself back into society. And behind my mom's house, there was a big giant field. So what I did, I set up the cones exactly how she had at the hospital, because that was my ticket to go home. I just wanted to go home. So I set the track up there, and I just practiced, and my mom had some weights, and I was hitting the weights, and so I was trying to get stronger and stronger all the time. So I'll go back to the hospital, and I kept bugging my physiotherapist to have the race again. And she said, no. And then about a week later, she said, okay, we're going to have the race. So she sets the cones up again. We go to the starting line. She says, remember what happened last time? And I was kind of laughed. And then she said, your mark, get set, go. So we're going. I touched the first one. We're neck and neck. Second one, all the way back, we're neck and neck. Third one, I start pulling away, right? And then I'm going all the way back, touch. And then the fourth one, touch. I'm pulling way ahead now. I think I am anyway, right? And then there's only the last cone to go through. And I'm thinking, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. So I'm just sprinting, going, don't even look, because she's probably right behind me. She's going to make me look stupid. But so I just started sprinting, and then I come to the end, put my hands up, look around where she's at. She's way back there. And then I said, I won. And I said, can I go home now? And she said, no, I never thought you'd beat me. So, but that was a great feeling. And throughout my hospital stay, I just kept getting stronger and stronger. They would give me, in occupational therapy, for instance, they would give me 2 puzzles and said, okay, which one do you want to do? I said, just give me the hardest one. Because I was so determined. I had such a determination and some kind of, something in me that said, I just want to go home. I just want to, prove them wrong. So after a while, I did end up going home. After about 4 or 5 months in the hospital, I ended up going home. So it, I lost my spot. I was so excited there. I lost my spot. Again, so on the last day at the hospital, on the last day at the hospital, I see my last therapist, and so she says, so you're the one. I said, yep. And then I left out of the hospital. It just felt great to have that feeling. But once again, just before I finish here, I want everybody to close their eyes again. Now, just imagine yourself being the one person that succeeds, being that one person that never gives up, being the one person that achieves your goal. Okay, open your eyes. Thanks, everybody.